What's up, everyone? I'm here with the former UFC featherweight and Guinness Book of World Records holder Dennis Bermudez. You've been out of the UFC for a few years now, so how's retirement been? What have you been up to?
It's going pretty good. Just spending more time with my boys and I work now. I'm a working man.
That's good. That's good. You have how many kids do you have?
I got two little boys, Max and Bryson. They're currently 8 and 6 years old.
So what's it been like for you? I imagine and not doing training camps all the time. What's it been like, the adjustment to be able to spend so much more time with them?
It's been good, man, because they're getting older and they do cool stuff now. Like they do jiu-jitsu, they play hockey, we ride dirt bikes together.
That's good.
We wrestle.
That's awesome. Yeah. I umpire baseball games. So I do a lot of 8-year-old games, and
Okay.
you see the variety of parents. You have the spectrum. You have the people who aren't into it to the point where it's like, do you even know your kids out there? And you have the people that are so into it where it's like, all right, like we're not in
It's
the
a
MLB,
game.
they're screaming at everything. So where do you fall when you're watching your kids compete in things?
Like when they're doing jujitsu and stuff like that, I'll sit there, I'll let them go. I'll try and let the coaches help them. And if I feel like the coach isn't getting to them, I'll walk on the mat like, dude, like this, dude, like watch like this. And then like, it's almost like the kid that they're working with gets like a private lesson too, because I'll show him too and make sure he's doing it right too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, as a former UFC guy, I feel like you've definitely earned the right to walk on the mat.
Yeah, and it's they do jujitsu at the gym I used to train at, so
Oh yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah, so we see a lot of people kind of go in and out of retirement. Like Nick Diaz just announced he's coming back. Misha Tate is fighting this weekend after all that time. Do you ever get the urge to come back, or are you completely done?
I miss the like freedom of being in a like a training camp and only fighting. It just like my body doesn't hold up to the amount of damage I do to it, if you will, like working out and but like I do miss like the discipline of staying on a diet, what my body looks like, and seeing results and feeling like invincible, really.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So do you think that's what brings a lot of people back into the sport after they've been retired, kind of miss that freedom of what that brings and just the shape you're in?
No, I think I'm different than some people in that aspect. I think a lot of guys get back into it because they're like, I could beat that guy, or how much they make.
Yeah.
Or, or like, for example, like Misha Tate, I think she's her kid's probably like 2 now or something like that, but, just for someone like that, maybe it's a different motivation and, they want to show their kids like, hey, listen, your mom's a killer. This
Right,
is,
yeah.
with hard work and dedication, you could achieve this too. Nick Diaz, I think he was just like, I don't know. He got kicked out of the UFC kind of, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
what
like
exactly.
5 years, I think it was.
Yeah. I think he's always wanted to fight, and I think he's always been kind of training. I think he was just kind of being patient, which is weird because he's not gonna be the same Nick Diaz that he was 5 years ago, so.
Right. Yeah. I think he's pushing like 10 years. So it'd be really interesting to see what he looks like, especially after all that time. But in your final fight, you snapped a 4-fight losing streak, got a win in New York, Brooklyn. So how did you know going in, this is going to be my last fight? And if so, how important was it for you to, end on a victory?
Yeah, no, it was definitely going into the fight. I knew it was going to be my last fight. And it was either if I lost, I don't think the UFC would have gave me another fight. So I wouldn't have had a choice but to kind of retire or look for a different organization. But I never wanted to be, that guy that went elsewhere because I couldn't cut it in the UFC, And yeah, no, the victory in New York was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way to go out. So I had to ask, last weekend you tweeted, I almost fought Tai Tuivasa accidentally in Las Vegas, and I fought on the same card as Greg Hardy. but Greg didn't respond to my DM, so I got Tuivasa. So I think the only question after that tweet is, how did you almost fight Tai Tuivasa? And was that time?
We were at the UFC Summit. They had one where they brought like all the fighters in at once. And I was hanging out with his buddy Pedro. I'm drawing a blank of his last name. He's a light heavyweight, I believe.
Okay.
And I know Pedro. We've fought on the same card, I think, once or twice or something like that. And I've seen him in passing and training and stuff like that. And I just thought Tai Tuivasa was like just like one of his homies, you know. And so we're sitting there like at like a lounge, you know, in a casino. And Ty's like, yo, I'm gonna get a round of shots. You know, I'm like, you only need to get two. Like, I'm good. He's like, I'm getting you a shot. I'm like, don't, because I don't want it, you know. So he goes up and gets the shots, you know, puts it in front of me. I'm like, dude, I'm not, before I take this shot, I'm fighting you, just so you know that. I had no idea who he was, you know. And he's like, oh yeah. And I was like, yeah, like, we can go outside if you want, dude. I'm not taking the shot. Like, I don't like, if I take the shot, I'm gonna throw up. This is not my jam, you know. And then Pedro kind of like, easy guys, easy. I'm like, no, fuck him, man. I'm not taking the shot, you know. And then later on, I saw him fight, and I was like, oh, that wouldn't have been good, you know.
Yeah, you dodged a bullet. I mean, after watching him do a million shoeies, he definitely seems like the type of guy who would pressure you into drinking with him.
Yeah, and if I could take it back, I would have taken the shot. Like, you know, hey, I took a shot with Tai, you know, we're buds, you know.
Yeah. And I got to say, too, your accent that you did was spot on. I did not expect to be so good. Incredible. But you also, we mentioned it earlier, you've got the world record for drinking a liter of lemon juice in 22.75 seconds. So you said you'd throw up from taking a shot with Tai Tuivasa. So how did you take down the liter of lemon juice?
So since taking the shot with Tai Tuivasa, I've like kind of learned how to take shots. You got to like let out all of your air and then take the shot and just shoot it. And then if you have a chaser, that helps a lot. But the lemon juice challenge, I was working with G Fuel. That was one of my sponsors at the time. And we were in New York City. He had some like big YouTubers there with us. And we had done a scavenger hunt prior to this. And then the guy that was originally supposed to win the thing, he's got like, I don't know, like 7 million YouTube followers. Furious Pete, I think his name is. And he like I said, he has like already like 10 Guinness Book of World Records. So anytime he does like a Guinness Book of Records, they're like, yep, we'll be there, you know? Because otherwise, if you wanted to beat it and you wanted Guinness Book of World Records to be there, it's like you have to pay them to like travel and the whole, and like it's like 10 grand, you know? Unless they really think, you know, you're a notable person that could definitely do it, you know? So yeah, I was just going to do as a joke. I'll take a few, you know, gulps and spit it on that guy next to me. It'd be funny. And then they did a countdown. I was like, what? Like, it's on. Well, let me give this fucking hell. Let me see if I can rip this thing down and win. And I did just that.
And then the next thing you know, you've got a world record. So I guess because it's so like expensive to bring the Guinness people out, you're not really scared that someone's going to come challenge that, or does it ever occur to you? Like,
well, no, they had the plaque there. I saw it in the corner of the room. I was like, wow. So the very first attempt, they didn't count because there was like a little bit in like the rim of like the bowl. And like, would you like to take another shot? Like, dude, it's right there. That's mine, you know? So like 30 minutes later, I did it again. And I got 20. The first time I did like 20 something seconds.
That's impressive. Yeah. But are you scared that somebody's going to like now come for your throne and retake?
I think a bunch of people have, but whatever.
And if someone breaks it, are you coming back in the game to reclaim the throne, or so be it?
Yeah, Guinness Book of World, like, get over here, get this back. Like, fine, I'll do it.
Yeah, be a showdown. Like, you've got to do it. And last question, we ask all the fighters this. I'm always interested. So I guess you're retired, so we'll do before and after. But I always like to know, when you were not fighting before, working your way up, what were your jobs, and then what are you planning? What's your work going to be post fighting?
When before I was in the UFC, I worked at UPS part time, and I did landscaping, and then I won. I didn't win. I lost in the semifinals of the Shine fights. It was like a one night tournament where if you won 50 grand. If you won the whole thing in 3 fights. And I was like, dude, because I was making like $120 a week, and then maybe another $100 doing landscaping. I didn't have a lot of money, so that kind of money was like, what? Yeah. I live with my mom, my grandmother, so I had that money. I'm like, I'm out. I was dating a girl in Long Island, so I moved to Long Island, and then I was working at a fitness gym, and I was working at this place called PC Richards and Sons.
Sure.
Again, making like shit money. But I had applied for the Ultimate Fighter 12, I believe it was like 155, and they didn't take me. But they said next time they do an Ultimate Fighter, I don't have to do all the tryouts and stuff like that. I can just come for the interview. So I called them up and I asked, hey, even though this is at 145, does that rule still apply? They're like, does this rule still apply? They're like, yep. So I went to Vegas, did all that. I was living in Long Island, and they called me back to come on the show. So I told my job, I'm like, listen, I'm going to go be in the UFC. So I would quit, They're like, what, really? Like, yeah, out of here. They're like, if you ever want to come back, we'll take you. Like, sure. I was like, all right, cool. But I just never looked back and believed in myself, and just put in the hard work and got in the UFC. And then when I was in the UFC, I was making enough money where I didn't need to work a job. All they would do is just train, and I would do private lessons. I did private lessons throughout my whole career in my downtime. And now I work for PSEG as a lineman.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I assume you were the only person from PC Richard and Son who left to go to the UFC, at least that year. You're probably the only guy to do it, probably ever. But that's awesome. Those are great ones. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No problem, big dog.
All right. Talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. Peace, Buzz.